Oh, now it tells us that we're recording. Everybody, I know that we're having wonderful challenges in South Africa in terms of load shedding. So a lot of people are not able to join us right now, but welcome to those that are all around the world. Let us know in the chat box where you're from, a little bit more about who you are. There may be some networking opportunities, yes, business, sales, networking opportunities in the chat box. You never know. But today what we're going to be talking about, and I'm not going to talk very long, so it's a 20-minute session, but because we want to keep it short and concise, and if you want to know more, we're happy to engage further. So let's go to the next slide. This is me. Yes, that's me. The average B2B sales cycle is 6 months. Now, during COVID, this may have increased a little bit. This is data from last year, from LinkedIn specifically. So all the information I'm sharing with you today is talking about information that I have gotten from either LinkedIn, Forrester, Gartner, a whole number of places. So I've done quite a bit of research as to what is the changes within sales. We all know that B2B sales has changed. Only 29% of our buyers want to talk to a salesperson and learn more about a product. Yes, in other words, they don't want to talk to us. So how are we engaging differently with our potential clients nowadays? Because they don't want to pick up the phone. I mean, how many of us actually pick up the phone when it's not a number that we don't know? Now, your buyers are the same. Now, we have to also remember our buyers are also possibly sitting and working from home sometimes, because this is a global pandemic. We are in our third wave here in South Africa, around the world. This is happening everywhere. So we have to be cognizant of the fact that minding the people where they're at, are they available? They're not always available. Just picking up the phone and phoning is not necessarily going to do it, because telephone calls, people don't pick up. So that's one of the biggest changes. The number of buying decisions, the buyer decisions are made before the buyers even pick up the phone to speak to suppliers. So this is 57%. This is quite a high number, which means you need to make sure that your content is up to date and everything else. And we're going to talk more about that later now. 34% of sales admit that closing deals, 34% of salespeople admit that closing sales is harder. I mean, B2B sales is not easy, let alone store sales. Here's some quick information that I found out. So decision makers are now younger. Those big board members that were sitting in those wonderful chairs and had some grayness. Unfortunately, don't have that yet. But those board members have the final signing power, perhaps still, some of them, but your decision makers are younger. In other words, they are more au fait with how to do research before they actually make contact with the specific suppliers that they have been impressed with, that have shown recommendations, et cetera, et cetera. So now you have to make a physical decision. How are you going to engage with those people? Now, the first point, so there's 3 tips today. The first point is embrace sales enablement to help your prospects make better decisions. Now, what is sales enablement? Sales enablement means you are helping the salesperson, sales team, sales process, whether it be lead generation, CRM, the whole process, from start to finish. When the buyer is making, so 60% of those buyers are making decisions even before they've made contact with you, before they've even inboxed you and said, hey, I would like to set up a meeting, even if it's a virtual meeting. So what are you doing in terms of helping and enabling your sales team? 95% of buyers select a vendor before they even and navigate through the sales process. They select the vendor provided because of the content that they are sharing. And we'll go through details of what content is actually working right now. 68% of customers feel more positive about a brand after consuming content. 82% of buyers viewed at least 5 pieces of content from the winning vendor. What are you guys doing in terms of putting out content? The companies and strategies that develop sales enablement strategies typically win 13% higher contract value, which means you're going to get more money than you even anticipated. So a client example is the sales team that started the content sharing from the library and networked through LinkedIn. The increase in sales was enormous. So from 1,600 views per month to 45,000 views because the sales team was enabled, trained, and helped learn how to share content as well as providing them their own content. This brings us to point number 2. Point number 2 is the salesperson, so salesman, saleswoman, whatever we're calling ourselves, because it is, we're celebrating differences this month. And what are they sharing as your brand? Now, we go into detail in a full-on training course as how a salesperson or a saleswoman can actually share content that is relevant to your business and your organization. From that perspective, what you're wanting to do is enable your team. So this is key for me because people buy from people. People do not go and look for someone at Deloitte, or go to Deloitte's company page, and especially when it comes to LinkedIn, they don't go to the Deloitte's company page and go and find someone. They search the person within the person search field. What is your LinkedIn and what is your digital presence communicating to your potential buyers? What is the content that you are sharing as a salesperson? Is it, oh, look at my new Ferrari, look at where I'm eating, look at my coffee? I don't want to hear the Instagram post. So remember, Instagram is, oh, look at my awesome coffee. Your LinkedIn is, look who I'm having coffee with. You bring in the people aspect because people buy from people. They learn to trust you as a salesperson. And we go through that in an in-depth process, a 3-hour training session in terms of sales on how to bring that into your sales process. But we start with, what is your LinkedIn saying about you? You need to, I mean, we've got videos on our YouTube channel if you're wanting to go and have a look at that and set it up in terms of some free content, how to set up your LinkedIn profile. But from a connection perspective and a sales perspective, we really do need to start presenting ourselves, Facebook, Instagram. Remember, I'm going to look at your Instagram, even if I'm wanting to employ a salesperson. Why? Because I want to know that you aren't showing inappropriate bathroom posts. Yes, that's the bigger trend right now, is sharing that content. What are you sharing? Is it appropriate? And is it appropriate for the brand that you're representing in terms of where you're wanting to go in your sales career? The point number 3 that I'm wanting to make is sales and marketing really, 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 really do need to work together, because this is the only way that you are going to really improve your sales. Smart marketing, align the two. Here's a video that I actually recently saw, so it's quite a new video that's out. She talks about how a salesperson, I just want to make sure, sharing screen, that I've actually enabled share sound. Share. Almost forgot about that. But when we watch the video clip, listen to what she says on what the salesperson did as part of the process?
So some people bought pandemic puppies. I decided to buy a pandemic Porsche. I'm in Park City, and there's 2 Porsche dealerships in town. There's one that's 45 minutes away, the other's 2 hours away. So I do what everybody does. I start out and I get on the website and I look at the different cars. I call the guy 45 minutes away. I said, hey, can you send me some information on these 3 cars that are in your lot? He says, oh, you got to come down and test drive it. I said, I'm not coming down. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Can you just send me the information? He's giving me all this crap and says I got to come in, so I don't. So then I call the second dealership. I get this guy, Sean. I said, hey, Sean, can you send me some information on these 3 cars? Well, he not only sends me all the information, then he says, why don't we get on a Zoom call and, we can design the exact car and color you want in case we don't have that in the shop. I thought, okay, because I was looking for white with beige interior, very unusual. So we go online and we're doing it together on a Zoom call, right? I put together all the options I want and everything, and he says, ooh, that's a tough combo, but I'm on it. 2 days later, he connects with me on LinkedIn, starts sharing my videos. So all of these multi-channels of communication, right? And then I kind of go dark because I'm not that intent on buying a car. I kid you not. A few days later, I get a video text to my phone of the exact car coming off the trailer, the car trailer, wrapped up like a present. And he starts videotaping it and he's like, oh, look at this, look at that. And he's like, if you want to come in today, we're serving chili. Down there and bought the car. But here's the lesson. Too many salespeople think about the sales process instead of the buying process. And today, customers don't buy linearly. It's not like the old days. We got to meet them where they are and use as many channels of communication as we can. That's what Sean did. I got this beautiful new car and I drove it through the lot. The guy that screwed up. You're laughing.
That's awesome.
It's true.
So how many of us can relate to something like this, where we've gone through a process, we've gotten bad service from someone, or even the phone doesn't, we pick up the phone because we're phoning and we're needing, ink, an ink cartridge. We phone to find out if they've got stock and no one picks up the phone. We go to the next person. If no one replies to our email, and this happened to me recently, I was looking for something, I emailed someone, it was for a client that needed some printing done, specific printing, so it was someone that I don't normally use, I'm looking for specific printing. A big supplier that normally supplies loads of people took 3 days to answer me. By that time, I'd already placed an order with somebody else because they responded and gave me a quote, sent me the information, and could do it in 2 to 3 days, whereas the other person could only do it within 7 days or 7 to 10 days. That process and that being able to bring your customer journey to life incorporates your marketing and sales, because what she said was sent her the collateral. He gave her all the information. He got on a Zoom call. He had enabled processes to be able to build the car, her dream car. And then he went and utilized the video, and then from a salesperson, so salespeople buy from sales, or people buy from salespeople. Sorry, people buy from people. Yes, we all make mistakes. And when people are buying from people, we need to remember that the person is a person in the process, not just commission, not just going towards your budget and the bottom line. At the end of the day, there's a person behind. As much as we get frustrated with some people, we really do need to be patient, because especially now in a pandemic, people want to know that you are caring for them. And that is part of your marketing. In marketing, I don't want to see that silver line. So remember the video that she got from the guy that made her eventually go down to the lot and buy the car was a video he took with his phone. It was authentic. The videos that we take sometimes, has to have this major production and everything else. It doesn't need that. People want to see the authentic person behind the camera, not the fluff and everything else. They want to see the mistakes. I'm making mistakes. I send out my blooper reels just for the fun of it, just because I love to laugh and I love people, making people laugh. So that's part of what I do.
So some people.
Sorry. 56% of companies with both teams aligned revenue meet their revenue, and 19% exceed their revenue. So who wants to meet their revenue here for 2021? I know I do. Now, this is getting more into the depth of which channels are best for marketing. Now we go in depth into a marketing course specifically for LinkedIn for marketers. So then we go into in depth about a whole bunch of other things as well. But here you can see which channels for business related content, which is the most used, 81%. What content is most consumed? Video content, white paper, research, all the other stuff. Videos do so well because people love to see your face, because now we can't touch and hug and shake hands and, just have that in-person connection. The next best thing is video. Which types of content assets? So webinars, what we're doing today, adding value, telling people why you do what you do. Tell people, share tips and share some of your valued information for free, because why? That's bringing people closer together. It's allowing collaboration. So I'm hoping that the sales, all these wonderful salespeople and entrepreneurs are sharing inside the chat what they do, connect with each other. Why? Because it's important. This is an important part of the process. When researching the B2B purchase, how many do you typically reviewing content? Now, if you take a look at that second graphic, see how many. So if you look at the lines, the yellow, the light yellow is what they spend on for 30 to 60 minutes. Webinars is what they'll spend more time on. White papers, 5 to 10 minutes. Infographics, 5 minutes. And how much time do we spend on infographics? Just saying. Video content, your videos, if you're going to be posting them on social media, need to be shorter than 5 minutes, even 2 minutes. Quick, short, sharp, punchy, to the point, making sure that you're not dragging out the information. So here's some interesting statistics for those. And I know we kind of on time, so I'll go to questions now. Some interesting global statistics. There are 7.83 billion people in the world, and 4.6 billion are on the internet. So you can reach global. I love this slide. You can see it's January 2021, 59 million in South Africa, but 100 million have mobile connections. Yes, like double the amount of people, just saying. But 38 million, if you're here in South Africa, you have a target of 38 million or 25 million from an active social media use. You're missing out if you are not on social media and doing a proper digital marketing strategy. Time spent on social media. So around the world, time spent on social media is 2.2 hours and 22 minutes. In South Africa, we add on an extra hour and 10 minutes, and it's 3 hours and 32 minutes. The recording is going to be available afterwards, so you guys can go in depth and more, or you could download the content as well from Hootsuite. The reasons for searching on the internet is for finding information. 63% of people are looking for information on the internet. Is your information on the internet? Either they're using search engines or social media networks or product brand websites or customer reviews. Are you making use of all of those? Something that I'm really, 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 really passionate about is always, 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 always adding value. I know that suddenly I looked at the time and our 20 minutes are up. But what I want to do is open the floor for any questions. And Paul, is there any questions I need to attend to? Okay, Willem has raised his
hand. We don't have any questions yet.
Okay, so Willem has raised his hand. So I've allowed you to talk, Willem.
Hi, Noleen. Thank you for this. And I do apologize popping in so late. I had to run an errand with my son. I love the statistics, and I think you drive a very good case. You know, if you don't have your ducks in a row in social media today, even in B2B, you're not going to achieve your targets. So thank you for reminding me of that. And one thing what you mentioned now in closing is always add value. And I've only focus on LinkedIn. I leave all the other platforms. My biggest concern and challenge that I find is that initial contact request. You know, I've seen very good ones and I've seen very bad ones, but I'm still always looking to improve that. So how would the perfect LinkedIn request, what elements would it consist of, if I had to ask?
I'll answer that for you. So Willem raises a good question. You know, how often do we initially connect with someone that's either it sounds spammy? So, hi, I'm a broker. My name, hold on, wait. This is one of the best, worst ones. Hi, my name is Noleen. I'm from LadyBugz. Oh, yes, I can see that on your profile that your name is Noleen. I can see that you're at LadyBugz. I can see what you do. Please don't tell me what you do. Tell me why do you want to connect? Not just from my end in mind is, sales, but your end in mind should be want to build a relationship because people buy from people. What I often do is I go and have a look at their Facebook. So without, LinkedIn is something that LadyBugz is really powerful at, but you can't discount Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest because they look to see if you're still, operational, should I say, especially because of the pandemic. But when I go and look at that person's personal profile, see what they're involved with, I got a meeting and connection with a COO at a leading car rental company a couple of years ago, because what I did was I went to go and have a look at his Facebook. I saw that he was an avid cyclist. So then I brought in and my message, my initial LinkedIn connect was around marginal gains and the case study with Lance Armstrong. So bringing that in and saying, we would love to share the case study of Lance Armstrong. So what am I doing? I'm adding value. I'm not just connecting with someone. I'm connecting with someone with them in mind, not with me in mind. Yes, from a sales copy perspective, always have the win-win and your end in mind. Your end in mind is to build a relationship so that you can make the sale. But sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. Does that make sense, Willem?
It does. I did post an example of what I currently use for a CSI manager. So because I approach 5 different segments on a daily basis. And if you read it, if it's in the comment section or in the chat section, does it read spammy to you, or how would you rate that?
Okay, so are you doing a job creation or entrepreneur project? So my question would be is, I know that you're doing it in terms of trying to get to as many people as possible, but doing your proper research, you should be able to find out if they are doing job creation entrepreneur projects, because it would be part of their blogs and their CSI projects, et cetera, et cetera. So and you're trying to sell in that initial sentence, because you're also saying in the second sentence that you previously, you've taken people and you're doing this and you're doing that, which is great. But what we need to do is initially connect with a person. You're not connecting with them in their business, because remember, people buy from people. So you want to connect with that person from a personal level, not from a business level.
Okay, because this is a CSI manager, so they initiate such projects. I think it's fair for them to expect that we will talk about these projects. That's why with every segment I do tweak it a little bit.
I mean, we do that. We go into detail on this in the training we do.
No, I hear what you say. Sorry, I'm stealing some of your time, but you know what? You really got me thinking here, and I appreciate it. Thank you for your
You're
time.
welcome.
Really
You're welcome. At what point do you recommend trying to sell? Sorry, bye, Natasha. Thank you for coming. It was good to see you here. Thank you for supporting. Lauren says, my B2B challenge is the decision makers don't attend online events that I hold, similar to this one. They will accept their attendance, assuming for the recording, but not register. I know that this is the biggest challenge, Lauren. So webinars are key, but if you're talking more about yourself, so I've refrained from talking about what we do, but talking more about how to add value within your sales process. So sometimes the content of the webinar and history. I mean, I attended something from a major, I'm not going to mention names, just now I'm getting into trouble, but I attended a major webinar from, you know, an international marketing company that deals with CRMs and everything else. And for the first 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes, they were talking about the speakers. They were talking about the companies and their products. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about that. So sometimes if you've set a precedent in terms of, yes, exactly. If you set a precedent in terms of what you are sharing in the beginning of your webinar, if it's too much about you, we don't actually want to hear it. And that's what we have to start realizing. People will do their research on your company, on you. When they're coming to attend your webinar, they know that they're going to get some value. So stick to, yes, that's me. Okay, so you can see my name in my picture. Fine, I quickly skipped over that. It's not about me. This webinar is to help and enable salespeople and teams out there really make an impact, because B2B sales is so much harder. And that, I think, at the end of the day, Lauren, is get them to know about it, but they will consume. So some of the other statistics that I left out is decision makers consume about 5 pieces of content. Consume, not just see it, consume it. About 5 pieces of content before they're actually going to make contact with you. So remember that they are looking at what you're posting. If you're just posting about events, and if you're just posting about this and posting about that, so what? Post about your customers' experiences, post about real life. And this is where your salespersons, the salespeople within your team, need to come alive, because people buy from people. So it's that person. I mean, you saw, she remembered her the guy's name, just like that. Sean from the Porsche dealership. Now, I want to go and Google Sean from the Porsche dealership where she lives. Why? Because, you know, he gives great experience. So make sure that I think from even in a CSI space, in a LinkedIn space, in a digital marketing space, in sales space, you need to make sure that you're constantly adding value in all of your content. Some of the content, you know, you're saying, by the way, we have a webinar, but keep that in mind, Lauren. At what point do you recommend trying to sell after you connect with a personal level? So Miranda, we cover this in detail in our sales training session, but from a personal connection level, build a relationship. So let me give you an example, and then I need to close off. I'm just minding the time for everyone else that is still here. But Miranda, remember that you're selling to a person. And now we're walking down in a mall. You know, remember those days when we went to the mall and there were people in the middle of the malls? Yes, no, during the pandemic, there's not so many. But what we used to do is put our blinkers on and not make eye contact, because we do not want to be sold to. But everybody is in the mall, either buying a coffee or buying a mop. We're going to buy the exact mop that person is trying to sell us, but we're going to go to the Pick and Pay or whatever store to go and buy it in that aisle. we know what we want because we're already educated and know exactly what product we want. So when you are trying to sell on a personal level, it's more around building a relationship. So give you one final example is I connected with someone at a leading telecoms company here in South Africa. I started engaging with asking him about his sales process and how they do lead generation. So I'm talking lead generation, and this is about 3-4 years ago. I'm talking lead generation. He's talking the rest of the sales pipeline. We eventually, over 2 days, now we're inboxing each other and we're sharing information. And eventually we agreed to disagree after 2 days and we left it there. So I said, it's fine, we don't have to meet. 2 weeks later, I was very fortunate. It was his birthday. Happy birthday, Bill. Some awesome quote that resonated with me. And, let's meet up for a coffee. We met up he said, yes, sure. Met up for a coffee. He's one of LadyBugz and my personal kind of fans now. He's given a few clients to us. He retired shortly after that, but it's to give you the story that you have to connect on a personal level, build a relationship. There's no specific timing because some of the content you share, when I'm sharing some content, someone will inbox me and say, hey, Noleen, I just saw a piece of your content and I'd love to have a Zoom connect with you. And that's even recently. So you never know what's actually going to get the person, but you need to make sure that on all your channels that you're being consistent. Consistency is key to be able to drive your business. So we know that if you make 100 sales phone calls, you're going to get 3 meetings, and that's because of consistency. Consistency also includes, don't expect to post one thing or 5 things because people are going to consume 5 pieces of content. That is not how it works. They don't log on to LinkedIn every day. They don't, a lot of your prospects are not on LinkedIn every day, but when they are on, you want to make sure they see something of you in their feed. That's the important piece. And we go into more in-depth details you can even check the YouTube channels and stuff. So is there anything else? I know that we are now way over time and we're losing some people. Is there anyone else that has any other questions? Okay, so if there's no other questions, thank you so much for attending today. We do have a LinkedIn marketing training team, training session, open training session for marketing teams next week. If you're wanting more information on that, you can either go onto our socials or you can pop me an email and I can send you the information. But for actual sales training teams, we need enough people to be able to do an open session, or we do it with inside organizations. So that's just letting you know from a sales perspective, and we actually focus on sales. So thank you very much. Willem Gous is asking how much. So I'm going to give everyone that's on this course. Yes, I should have I thought about it earlier, but I didn't put it into the presentation. I was waiting for someone to ask. So thanks, Willem. So everyone that has attended this webinar, I'm going to give you 50% discount. So at the moment, we are charging $895, which means you'll get 50% off the $895. But we'll give you a special code to be able to input that into the process. So, and it's a 3-hour training session. So everyone's welcome. Just pop me an email and we'll send you the details to register. Okay. Thank you very, very much. I hope you guys have a splendid evening, and I hope for those that missed it, I hope your electricity is back. Thanks, everybody, and take care.